Well, welcome back to the Building Belmont podcast. I'm your host, Keanu Trujillo, and if you're a first-time listener, then thank you for joining us, and if you're a consistent and loyal listener, then welcome back. One of our primary focuses on this podcast is creating connection, and we have some awesome pages here locally that are doing just that are creating connection via Instagram or Facebook, and today we're actually joined by some great connectors, and I want to introduce the people behind the page. We have Marlena and Chandler, the Belmont Babes. Welcome to Building Belmont.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. Well, we were already having some great conversation, so I think we can kind of just pick up from where we were. Tell me about how you two came to be in Belmont. I know you have different stories, so feel free to vibe off each other and tell your story. But what brought you here to Belmont?
So we both work for the same company, and our company originally was located in Hickory, North Carolina. We worked for Corning, and it relocated to the Charlotte area, right outside the 485 loop. And so when I was deciding to move, I was looking for a neighborhood that was, not necessarily right in Charlotte, but was kind of a bedroom community, as they're called, right outside Charlotte. And I found a roommate in this area, came and visited the string bean, got lunch with her, and fell in love. So that's my story.
So was it the string bean that hooked you, or just downtown Belmont?
It was a little bit of all of it. I mean, you can't deny the fries at the string bean.
Duck fat fries are,
yes.
Yeah.
String bean is a treat, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's something about when you round that corner. I want to see if you remember the experience when you round the corner coming into downtown, and then you see like, whoa, what's this little city? Like, it surprised me, and was that your experience as well?
Yeah, like if you go left, you get all the shops. If you go right, there's more shops and food, and it was great. And awesome. All the lights hanging outside, of course, are always beautiful any time of the year.
And of course, you are Chandler.
Yep.
And so Marlena, what was your story of coming to Belmont?
So kind of similar. I lived in Hickory for work before I moved to Belmont, and then when the headquarters building relocated, decided that kind of a similar story. I didn't want to live in the city. I didn't want to have to deal with finding parking and trying to drive in and out of the city to go to work every day. So I looked at a couple smaller communities kind of right outside Charlotte, and I remember my boyfriend was with me, and we visited Belmont, and we walked around Stowe Park, and we were both like, I was like, I really like it here. And we decided to come live here, and it was really convenient for Chandler and I. We did work together, but kind of took our friendship to a new level when we became neighbors as well.
Yeah. If you could describe Belmont in 3 words, and you each get 3 words.
Okay.
If you could describe Belmont in 3 words, what would they be?
I think cozy would be one for sure, or maybe personal. Kind of hitting the same note, but it feels very personal. It kind of feels like it could be your hometown, even if you didn't grow up here. I think both the town itself and the people here. So those are my 1 or 2. Maybe we can alternate.
I would say community is another one. Mm-hmm. I've never lived in a town where there's been so much community. I think, I've tried to find it in other places, and this town really gets it right with, the small businesses that, during the pandemic really just kind of, I feel like, flourished with the support of the community. So that's one of my words.
Yeah.
I think I would add vibrant.
Vibrant?
There is always a lot of energy in Belmont, and there's always things going on, even at the same time. And I think anyone that follows any of the Belmont social media knows there's not like one event per weekend. There's like 7, and you're picking which events you want to go to or where you want to stop by and see their special. There's just a lot of energy all the time here, and there's always like something to kind of find or try out. It's very vibrant.
Yeah, I would agree with definitely all of those, especially it feels like it could be your hometown. So I'm asking around, and I'm seeing how long do I have to live here before I can say, hey, Belmont's my hometown.
Yeah.
But I found something with talking to some locals here is that there are very few people that are actually from Belmont. Mm-hmm. I mean, you guys know why?
I mean, another word I was going to use is upcoming, because
Okay.
I feel like so many people have moved here. It's growing, so
Yeah.
I would assume it used to be a lot smaller.
Yeah, well, that is very true. Almost everyone that we've interviewed up to this point are not from here, and yet they're heavily involved in building a business or supporting the community. But there's no hospital in Belmont.
Oh.
So most people aren't from here. They're from Gastonia or they're from Charlotte. And of course, we have a hospital that's coming in now soon with Caramont. So I said, I want to be from Belmont. And I had some friends that were both raised here in Belmont. And they said, well, most people aren't from Belmont. And I thought the same thing. Well, yeah, they come from other places. Like, no, literally, they can't be born in Belmont. So it would be highly fraudulent if I said I was from Belmont. But yeah, like that hometown feel. I don't think something like this would be as successful in most other communities, especially around Charlotte. When you go into other communities around Charlotte, and I love Charlotte, I love everything about the area as a whole. But you go there into these other communities and everyone feels very involved with themselves or isolated to themselves. When you come into Belmont, there's something about it that just feels like everyone's more external facing. And that's what I'm hearing you say too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like when you go into a business, you're really likely to see the owner of that business working behind the desk or walking around and checking the merchandise, and they say hi to you and you get to know them, which is not something that you would experience in Charlotte.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's being able to walk downtown and you're almost guaranteed to run into at least one person that you know, right, and waving at them or whatever. And so that is it's just very welcoming. And so to create connection here, let's fast forward to the page, right? Belmont_babes. So what was the catalyst? What was the conversation? How did that come to be?
Yeah, so I think our perspective was we have a lot of friends we work with, or friends who work in other companies in Charlotte that have a similar story to us, transplants from another area, didn't grow up here, and come to the Charlotte area, and they all go right to Charlotte. Some of us kind of look for those communities outside of the city, but a lot of people, they go right into Charlotte, they make a list of Charlotte breweries to check out, they make a list of Charlotte restaurants, and there's so many great communities outside of Charlotte. I mean, Belmont's our favorite, obviously, but there's so much to do if you just go a little bit outside of the city. And so I think it was aimed at how can we share with our peers, people like us that are coming into the North Carolina area who aren't from here, that there is this great town and this great community, and you need to come like just 15 minutes outside of the city and come check it out. And so that was, I think, kind of our perspective, and we're really aimed at kind of that group. Like, come take a weekend, come have brunch here, come try a dessert, come to like the Moon event last year. We brought a lot of people in for that. Like, you need to come check this out, and try to make people aware as they come to the area, like, hey, there's a whole world and a bunch of small communities outside of the city, and they're so worth checking out and maybe moving here. Yeah,
absolutely. So you're recruiting for Belmont. I like it.
Yeah.
And so then with starting the page, whose idea was it originally?
So I will add, I like to come up with names for things. So I had jokingly been calling our friend group the Belmont Babes, adding a little hashtag Belmont Babes. So the name did originate that way, but I think it really started with Marlena kind of having a desire to, the pieces during the pandemic, we kind of had a desire to sort of be that extra piece of, sharing what's going on in the community, because people might not be out in person. So it started at the beginning of the pandemic. Marlena set it up, and I provided the name, and it's all history.
We were sitting in Chandler's house on her couch, and she had called us the Belmont Babes, and I was like, we should just start a page and just advertise Belmont. And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, yeah. And I think we just made it right then and there and used the name, and we ran with it. Yeah, I think it was like right before the pandemic started. It was not good timing.
So do you all have, yes, it's not and then it is. I mean, obviously you experience that. Who does what? Is there a photographer and then a copy person, or you both kind of just serve the page as you see fit?
Yep, Chandler's the photographer.
Okay.
Well, she won't say that, but she's the photographer, because her pictures always look about 10 times better than mine do, even though we have the same phone and the same settings.
Yeah, we both definitely create the content on there, and we've actually posted at the same time before, and I've been, I should have texted you and told you. So it's kind of, whenever something's going on, we'll just coordinate and post it.
Well, it's obviously a passion project, so are you all still enjoying it?
Yeah.
Okay. And sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to ask, and what do you see the ultimate goal or the destination for Belmont Babes? Or is it, hey, let's just enjoy the ride, and where we end up is where we end up?
I think we are really enjoying the ride because it gives us an excuse to get out of our comfort zone and try new restaurants and try new dishes and not always order the same thing, and kind of try to go to the events so we can share that experience. I think long-term goal, though, it would be great to see more people move here, more people come here for a weekend, take little day trips here. I think if the more we see kind of our peers and people like us giving Belmont a chance and finding out how wonderful it is. I think that's really, I think, the end goal for us.
So supporting tourism to a degree and visiting Belmont and maybe even moving here?
Yeah.
So what's your recruiting pitch then? Let's say I'm one of your friends, I just got hired at Corning and I'm moving in, I'm looking for an area, right? And obviously you two are like, okay, we're gonna get them. What is your recruiting pitch to get someone to move to Belmont, to explore Belmont?
Well, I'd say we have it all. I mean, we have everything that you can get in Charlotte. We've got, breweries, we've got, more upscale restaurants that have come to the area. We've got shopping, we've got everything. So, why struggle through the traffic of a big city when you can come to Belmont, know who you're shopping from and who's making your food, and enjoy a community that gives you all of those things.
We had a friend that came and we got brunch with her a few weeks ago, and we went into Belmont Specialty Foods and they said hi to us, and we went into Everyday Market and they said hi to us and they were asking us how things were going, and our friend was like, everybody knows you here. And I was like, everybody knows everybody here. Like, that's just, she was shocked that people knew who we were and we knew who the people working in those shops were. And not from the page, just from being in the community and getting to know people. I think that's what makes it special.
Yeah. So now with the page then, and by the way, obviously that wasn't your first rodeo to recruit someone to Belmont, so good job. So now with the page and posting the content, do you also, so support for the page, let's talk about that, right? How can people support what you're trying to do with the page, or maybe they want to get featured on your page? Mm-hmm. Have you done that before? Is that part of the approach as well? Yeah,
so we definitely are able to do that, and we have an option if you visit our page that we can help promote your business if you would like. A lot of that we do naturally through, we see what's going on in the community and we jump in and just share it, when we see it. But we definitely are able to do those more specialized promotions that, can kind of bring more attention to an event.
Well, I think that you all had posted and supported Melanie for a time, I think when she was opening up at the Wandering Cup. Mm-hmm. So tell me about, obviously I think you guys are connected with her. Tell me about your relationship with someone that the podcast is already familiar with.
Yeah, she actually reached out to us before the coffee shop opened and asked if some people who were kind of local to the area wanted to come and try it out. And we were so honored and flattered that she invited us. But I actually live like a 2-minute drive from the coffee shop. So I was like, I don't know how quickly I would have figured out that this was here if you hadn't told me. And then once I knew, I was there all the time getting coffee or trying snacks, and I actually have a mug from them. And I think it's kind of, as we discussed, we both do work full time. So sometimes if people can just reach out and say, hey, would you come check this out? Or would you want to come and try this? And maybe we can kind of get to know each other. It's really helpful for us because this isn't our full-time job. So if you can give us the shortcuts and help us find you, that goes a long way.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I like that, being able to leverage that, from a social media standpoint, very, very targeted, obviously, to Belmont. So do you notice, or do you know how many of your followers are in Belmont versus Charlotte, or is it half and half?
I haven't looked at the analytics for that. I don't know if it breaks it down. But I do think most people are in Charlotte, in Belmont. And we actually do get some followers from Belmont Abbey because they're looking for, what do young people do in this area? So we've gotten messages from folks at Belmont Abbey looking for recommendations. So I think it's probably more heavily focused in Belmont.
Well, I'm glad you said that, right? Young people, or being attractive to young people from a perspective of, hey, what can we do? Mm-hmm. Because we touched on this before we started recording about the different Instagram pages here locally and kind of how they're targeting from a different perspective. So how would you describe the perspective that Belmont Babes offers, and then maybe even some like Eileen on Happenings or Visit Belmont, like what they're offering versus yours?
Yeah, I think ours is targeted at getting people to come to Belmont. Obviously, we're here for people who live in Belmont to find out what's going on, but we really want to promote them to people that live in Charlotte or other small communities outside of Charlotte. I know Eileen really focuses on letting us here in Belmont know like what's going on, what the news is, if there's things that we need to know about. And we a little bit more try to get people to come check out Belmont and come here for brunch instead of going into the city. Come here to try. We always tell people the best macarons are at Everyday Market. Yeah. And all our friends that come from Charlotte agree that that's true. Kind of doing some of that, trying to get people to come try out what's here and then hopefully stay a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say too, another aspect of what we enjoy in the area is we love to be active. So some of the things that we do are, we go to the Whitewater Center, which is, a short drive away, which is so convenient. We go to Aerial Arts nearby, and that's one of our favorite places to stay active. We, try to go to Stowe Park, like you said. So I think that's another piece of what we try to bring too is, yes, all of the food, all of the shopping that we like to promote, but also that active piece too, where, some people might be looking for other ways to get plugged in, and we try to provide that too.
Yeah. Well, I like what you said there because it really brought forth a thought on how the post would just look different. Let's say that Eileen is trying to speak to locals about going to the Jailhouse. Have you ever been to the Jailhouse before?
Yeah.
Amazing cocktails, amazing place. To go to the Jailhouse. She's talking about, hey, you're familiar with this already. This is what's happening, and it's speaking to a local, whereas if you were to post it because you're speaking to people outside of Charlotte, you would say, hey, I know that you may like Stir, but it's extremely busy all the time, so why don't you come check out the Jailhouse? And so just the approach, even there being differentiated like that, I really enjoy that because you're helping give them an idea that there's a comparison. Or you can go to a Knights game, or you can go to a Gastonia Honey Hunters game, right, to get out with the family or things like that. So giving them a Belmont or a Gaston County alternative, that sounds like the differentiator there, am I right?
Yeah.
I would agree.
Awesome. Well, if you guys ever want to strategize on social media, we can definitely do that. But no, that is definitely a hope from Building Belmont, because even then, Building Belmont, you won't see Building Belmont posting about things that are happening. We want to catch, the stories ultimately, right? That information, and then just support pages like yours that are speaking to outside of Belmont and so on and so forth. And so we all exist to serve the community, but in different ways. And so that's what I like in being able to have these conversations and also share, of course, with the community why your page exists and how to, have those relationships. Because someone that's listening might know a place in Charlotte that's comparable to something here in the area. And then now, you can draw that connection for people in Charlotte, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. Now I just want to jump into a strategy session. Let's go. Especially knowing that, you're in corporate strategy and also your background, and, you all know what I do. So anyways, we'll save that conversation for another time. Anyway, moving forward, you mentioned something. I want to close with this. Some of your favorite businesses. What are some of the businesses? Let's talk about your favorite coffee, your favorite lunch, your favorite dinner, your favorite cocktail, and your favorite gym.
Okay, you might have to remind me.
I will. Let's start with coffee.
Start with coffee. Well, you're the coffee expert. I'll let you go first.
Oh man, so the drip coffee from Mug Shots is very good, and it's very worth the wait. They did move locations, but they're still in downtown Belmont. Definitely, I think they're worth checking out for sure. Have to plug Melanie, of course. Her coffee shop is great, and they have they do like different types of drinks every season. They always have a new coffee drink. I feel like every time I go there, there's some new drink, and they're very unique. They're things that I haven't heard of before or tried, and they're always really good. I know you wanted me to pick one, but I can't
That's
pick
okay.
one.
No, I actually like what you're doing because we don't want to create enemies either. So it's like, hey, what makes them different, right?
Yeah.
And the pour over at Mug Shots, it is something worth exploring. So let's move into breakfast now, or brunch.
Well, I'll say for coffee, I'll just plug Everyday Market because I'm not a huge coffee person, but they have great chai lattes. So I'm gonna say that for the coffee. And then you said brunch. Oh gosh, the Bottle Tree. I think and you might have the same opinion, but they've got a crab fried rice that they do sometimes that's really good. Their chicken and waffles is amazing. I think that's my go-to. So for brunch, I'll say the Bottle Tree.
Have you tried honeycomb yet?
We have,
Yes,
yeah.
that was going to be the second one I mentioned because it's new, but I think people need to go try it because they've also got really good cocktails too.
Yes,
So.
I was going to add that, and I think that was next. Their cocktails are so good. I wish they did cocktails at night, but they're a brunch place, but their cocktails are delicious there.
So do you jump over to Heirloom then in the evening? Have you been to Heirloom?
Yes, we went a couple times, yeah.
And so I take it you've experienced Chad?
Yes, he hasn't been there in person when we were there,
Okay.
but I definitely follow him, and yeah, he seems like such a fun guy, and those
Yeah.
cocktails there. I loved it has a bee name. I mean, everything's bee themed, but it had like the local honey, and it was amazing. So any of the cocktails there.
So it sounded a little bit like my ideal Friday. We went from coffee to brunch to cocktails.
Yeah.
So let's go back to lunch. What are your favorite, or maybe what do you like about some local lunch spots?
Belmont Specialty Foods Deli makes really good sandwiches. I definitely have to plug those. They have a couple different types of turkey sandwiches, and they're so good, and they're really big. I love a big sandwich from a deli when it's like they're like this big and it can be 2 meals. Their sandwiches are great. There's a lot of good options. I'm trying to think.
Yeah, I can't not mention the tacos from the station. Those could be lunch or dinner, depending on when you head out there. But getting those with, chips and queso, or, you got to get the beef bulgogi or the chicken banh mi. I mean, that's a go-to.
Okay.
So.
What do you think is the best burger in downtown Belmont? Or Belmont, excuse me.
Ooh.
I think you have an answer for this.
What's my answer?
The Lodge.
Okay, the Lodge has really good burgers, and you can get them on Texas Toast. Yes, this is why the Lodge burgers are so good. My boyfriend and I love them. They have all kinds of bread and options, but you can get them on Texas Toast. So if you want like a burger, those are really good.
Okay. Now moving on to dinner. What are your favorite, what do you like at maybe 3 or 4 dinner spots? I'm noticing that our brunch scene is much smaller, than when we get to lunch and dinner. It really gets expansive. So what are your favorite dinner spots?
So I will say the string bean. I mentioned that earlier, but I brought my family here during the summer, and we went to the string bean, and I want to say that's the first time every single person at the table finished everything on their plate. Like, we had fish, we had steak, we had fries, the duck fat fries, and everything was gone. Eggplant fries, amazing. You've got to try those. So I'd say the string bean is one of my favorite spots for dinner.
I mean, it did win you to Belmont, so
Yes.
there must be like some nostalgia to it.
It has a place in my heart.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, and then your gym.
We have to plug Aerial Arts.
Yes.
So Belmont is really fortunate we have an aerial studio. You normally can only find them in really big cities. We have one right here in Belmont. It's right down by the marina. It's just a few minute drive from here. If you have not checked them out, we have to give them a plug. You have to go check them out. They do classes for kids and adults. We both fell in love with it, and it's been one of the coolest things to bring people to Belmont. I don't think it's something people would expect to be here. So definitely, you have to give them a check out.
Yes, I was surprised when you told me about it before the show, because I just wouldn't have thought that would exist here.
Right.
But also, of course, someone like me, is it typically women that do that? I mean, obviously, but are there men that do that too?
Yeah.
There are. Yeah, there's there's a man that teaches there. It's just really, it's what you're, looking for. So you can try silks, you can try Lyra.
They have a partner acrobatics class.
Yeah, there's an acrobatics class. That one probably has the most guys that go. So you're balancing and lifting people in the air and all of that. So it's, it definitely takes some strength that you can build up throughout your classes that you're there.
Yeah.
And it's the best.
I can't help but laugh because I'm thinking about those that know me or that are watching, thinking about me twirling, on anything.
Yeah.
I'm 250 pounds and 6'1", so I could just see it. And even like my buddies working out at ISI, no, that's not graceful. I am not that, but I'm glad to promote it because again, I don't think people know that it's there. And again, from a attraction to Charlotte people, one of my hopes for building Belmont is that when people think I'm moving to Belmont, this is the first thing that pops up, whether it's through connection, saying, hey, go check this out. You get connected to all these businesses, get to know their stories, or even from an SEO standpoint, when they search Belmont or moving to Belmont, I want us to be able to pop up. So, someone will be listening to this episode years from now, and they'll hear your recommendations, and then they'll meet you over at Aerial Arts. I'm like, oh my gosh, I saw you on Building Belmont. Yeah. So just that connection and how that exists in perpetuity. So thank you guys for joining us again today. Is there anything else that you want to share before we close?
I think just there's so much great stuff in Belmont, and if you're not from the area and you're looking for something to do on the weekend, just give Belmont a try. We have so much here that it's not only comparable to Charlotte, like you said, but I really do believe in a lot of cases it's superior, if that's okay to say. This is the Building Belmont podcast.
It's okay to say.
It is a great time here, so definitely come check it out.
Yeah, and I would just say too, just to get out of your comfort zone. So that's something that that Marlena and I, that was a goal with the page, was to get out of our comfort zone, to try something new, and that's what brought us to Aerial Arts. That's what brought us to some of these restaurants that that we've grown to love, and the shopping here. All of it is great. Try something you haven't tried before, and get out of your comfort zone, meet the community, and get plugged into Belmont.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I love that, from a leadership or a business standpoint, you attract who you are. And Belmont, the way that you described it earlier, the personality of it, it's attracting more people like you and like us that are inclined towards connection and getting to know each other. So if you're moving to Belmont or if you're coming to Belmont, then don't take my word for it, take their word for it. I think it is superior, especially if you care about connection. If you kind of want to be left alone, then maybe this isn't the place for you, because you're going to make friends. We're going to make you love us at some point. But thank you guys again for joining us, and I'm sure we'll be back on again to have a conversation in the future. You let us know how we can continue to support your page and what you're doing, and thank you for what you're doing for the community.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Building Belmont podcast. I'm your host, Keanu Trujillo, reminding you to subscribe, rate, and review on your favorite podcast platform. Be sure to like and subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube. And of course, share with a friend, share with a neighbor. We'll see you again next week as we capture more stories, create more connection, and share more information here on the Building Belmont podcast.